Welcome into another edition of the Jungle Juice podcast. It's Sam Gormley with Mick Nelson. Mick, it is a Victory Wednesday yet again. It's a great day to be a Bengals fan.
Man, we've got a whole month of Victory Wednesdays over here. It's starting to. You think it's starting to get a little stale?
No, there's no such thing. No such thing as a too stale Victory Wednesday, especially when you're going up against maybe a team that 3 weeks ago everyone thought was going to win the Super Bowl. That they were just already crowning the San Francisco 49ers, and already a win comes in one of the more impressive victories really in a while. The fact that it was at San Francisco, in a way, I think it was more impressive that they beat them. The fact that they'd lost 2 in a row, for some reason, weirdly enough, to me, that means that it is a more impressive win. But it's really exciting regardless, and that'll be obviously part of the topic on today's show. But other than that, we are going to preview the big game against the Buffalo Bills on Sunday Night Football. We'll break all that down. There's some key injuries on both sides. We'll tell you about those. And then we have some news from the week as well, and we'll wrap up the show, of course, with our picks from the week. As we get started, remember to like our page, Jungle Juice Facebook. We just passed the 500 followers mark, so be sure you do that. You can also subscribe to us on the YouTube channel and do it that way as well. We want to make sure too, Mick, that we give a good shout out to our good friend and yours, Mr. Josh Isles, over at his page, WDN Today. You can make sure to follow him there for some great Bengals content as well. We're also streaming, or it's not streaming, but you can go back and listen to the show on your favorite podcast platform. As that goes on, we've got Facebook, we've got Spotify, we've got Apple Podcasts, we've got iHeart, we've got all of the different ways for you to join us that way as well. But Mick, some of the news from the week. It was a slow yet busy week, I think, on the news front for Bengals fans. And I think the biggest news is probably yesterday. And really, the biggest news is the fact that there was no news in that the Cincinnati Bengals did not make any trades at the trade deadline, which no matter how much time we invested into last week's show, we both, in the long run, aren't surprised at all that no trades happened.
Yeah, yep. We touched on this before, to reference Paul Dieter Jr. when they were talking about this on Hear That Podcast Growling last week. You might as well just go and take a walk while we discuss this segment. And we kind of shared those same sentiments. We did not think the Bengals were going to execute a trade. But, it's a fun discussion topic. So that's why we decided to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the one news that did come out yesterday afternoon that at least made me go, what? Was that one of the NFL Network, was it Mike Garafolo, I think, or one of the guys reported that Cincinnati was fielding potential looks for T. Higgins. And immediately I go, okay, yeah. I'm sure they are. Yeah, and then I immediately went back to, I think it was Duke Tobin. I think it was at the Combine, I believe, when they asked him about trading T. Higgins. Duke Tobin's line was, go get your own. Like, pretty much saying, I'm not in the business of making other teams better. And I immediately went back and played that, because while I think that in this coming offseason, a T. Higgins move could happen and maybe will happen, I don't think it made any sense for the Bengals to make a move right now without getting just completely blown away.
Yeah, no, it's we just didn't really see him making anything here. We kind of discussed them getting a tight end potentially, and it sounded like they fielded offers for. They were looking at a tight end from Carolina that wasn't Hayden Hurst. Tommy Tremble?
Yes, correct. That was one of the names that potentially came up, but I think that was more based on Solomon Wilcots was saying that, so I don't really know how much you read into that. Regardless, I'm not surprised at all, and I do agree with what Freddie says. Smart move. He didn't think they wanted to add any money that could affect cap for signing T next year. I don't know that it's necessarily on the T end, but I think in the long run, there was nobody out there that I think was really going to be that much of an improvement without overpaying. Like, the Bengals were never going to be in the Chase Young, nor do they need Chase Young.
They don't. The pass rush has been probably the most consistently strong aspect of the team so far this season. And yeah, why are you going to waste a draft pick when you're already as deep as they are in that department? So, could they have made a move to make the team a little bit better? Yeah. But these guys, they definitely have their own philosophy of keeping the roster intact and utilizing the guys they have and not giving up future assets. So, no news at the deadline. We can kind of move past that, and I'm still pretty confident in the roster they have moving forward, even with the dilemma they have at the tight end position.
Yeah, I agree with that, and one of that kind of moves in right to the next point that we have as far as roster moves that the Bengals made. They at least made some attempt at fixing that tight end position with signing Tanner Hudson to the active roster earlier today.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, to me, the minute that I heard that, I thought something's wrong with Charlie Jones, because the Bengals have 52 of 53. They had one vacant spot on their roster, and all signs pointed to Charlie Jones being that when he came off of IR this week. And immediately later on in the week, we found out that Charlie Jones is still a week away. And then the other roster move, I don't know if we care. Clay Johnston was signed to the practice squad. He was fine. Like, he did a good job. He the one that made the tackle on Derrick Henry in the
he played some meaningful snaps in that 2021 postseason run. He provided he definitely provided something in that 2021 season. It's actually a kind of a throwback, I think, because I don't think he played on the team at all last year, did he?
I don't know, honestly. So it's interesting with that. But yeah, I think all of those moves are. I mean, the Tanner Hudson. I feel like Tanner Hudson is kind of in this realm of like, he's like a mythical beast of Storm. I think he gets a lot more credit than he actually is. Like, nothing
because
against Tanner Hudson.
He looks like the most polished receiver out of the four tight ends they have, which is just it's kind of saying something about the problem they have in that room.
That's kind of what I was saying. Is I think that really says a lot that that he is your best option in that realm. I don't know. It just seems like there's a lot to I don't know. I feel like they can do better, and I think fans are a lot more excited about him than maybe he really should deserve, I guess is what I'm getting at. But regardless, Freddie says he thought Hudson looked decent in his one start, but not sure if he's great at run blocking or knowing the system fully. Yeah, he looked fine. I say, I guess, temper your expectations.
Yeah. I would look for them to hopefully add long-term to that position group, looking into the 2024 offseason and forward. But, it looks like the offense didn't need the tight ends really much at all on Sunday. They put together by far their best performance that we've seen in 2023. Probably the best overall performance I've seen. And I'm trying to think of,
And let's there was one more news aspect that I wanted to get to before we get into the game.
Yeah.
So let's table that and come back to that in a moment, because I don't really know if it's news, but it's something that needs to be discussed, Mick. And it was Sunday morning, and I don't know if it'd been released prior to, but Adam Schefter was the one that put it out. The video of the Bengals getting visited by Oz or whatever, the mentalist.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen the video, you can go to the Jungle Juice Facebook page, and we have it shared there, and you can find it. If not, it's not that hard to find. You could just Google Bengals Oz mentalist, and you'll be able to find it. And long story short, he brings up Orlando Brown Jr. and pretty much asks him, said, like, it's a cold day or it's a hot day. You go into the fridge. What drink are you pulling out? And tells him to, like, think of it in his head and close his eyes. And he goes out and he pulls out of a paper bag, the mentalist, and there is a Coca-Cola. And Orlando Brown says orange soda is the one that he wanted. And when he opens up the Coca-Cola can, it was orange soda. So then everyone's like, oh my goodness, this guy's amazing. But then it turns into the Joe Burrow show, where he's able to guess which receiver Burrow is throwing to around the room. And then it gets even wilder when Tyler Boyd apparently writes down on a piece of paper who his first kiss was and what grade he was in, and Joe Burrow was able to guess it. So, it wasn't cool. Yes, the players liked it and everything. But Mick, I got to ask you, Joe Burrow had to be in on it, right?
There's no way this wasn't like scripted. I think it was 100% scripted. There's no way Joe Burrow wasn't in on it. Yeah, I don't know. It was entertaining. It was something to watch, and apparently that guy loves going to NFL training camps to do this type of stuff. So yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, I think he was on the Hard Knocks. I think he was with the Jets, and I think he
Yeah.
got featured on that as well. It does look like we are having some technical difficulties. For some reason, our Facebook page, Jungle Juice, doesn't seem to want to be streaming. So, well, obviously, if you're watching this, then you know you have found us. But as always, just as a reminder, you can stream us on our Jungle Juice YouTube channel, as well as the WDN Today Facebook. So I'm not entirely sure as to what the issues was. I've been trying to figure that out while we've been talking, but it looks like it's something that I don't know. Maybe we've been put into Facebook jail, Mick.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know what we would have done to do that. And I usually, would be the culprit of that. So I don't know. Maybe just Facebook's deciding to not like us today. They're just
I don't know. But regardless, we appreciate those of you that have found us here on this end. Freddie says he's watching from Facebook. Well, maybe it is working, unless Freddie's watching on the WDN Today Facebook page. We also have the Jungle Juice Facebook.
I just looked at the Houday Nation one, and it looked like it was going live. So I'm not too sure.
I don't really know.
Yeah.
It's showing on my end that things have been struggling, but aren't we all struggling in our own ways?
Oh,
you know what wasn't struggling, though? The Bengals 49ers game on Sunday. As we wrap this up or go into the good, the bad, and the ugly from that category. Talking about and recapping the Bengals 31-17 win against the San Francisco 49ers. And Mick, this one's going to be a lot more top-heavy. We're diving into the good from the game on Sunday because there was a whole heck of a lot of it. When you're leading it off and talking about the good, I think we got to start with Joe Burrow. AFC Offensive Player of the Week earlier today. I think an argument could be made that was, if not his best game, it's in his top 5 and it's in the conversation. He was spectacular against, this was not the 2021 Baltimore Ravens defense. This was not the Falcons defense last year. This was a good defense that was healthy.
Yeah.
And he torched him.
Yeah, it was a great game by Burrow. He was kind of putting up Madden numbers where I don't even know if I can even throw for 88% completion percentage in Madden. So he's putting even above like Madden numbers in the game against San Fran. I did touch on the podcast last week when previewing the game. I was interested to see, are we going to see a new identity on offense? And we for sure did. They ran under center a lot more than they have done in previous weeks. And they looked good at doing it. The offensive line seemed to be responding a lot more, a lot better to the different formations they were doing. I was seeing a little more pre-snap motion than we're accustomed to seeing, which was which helped and I think opening up the receivers down the field. And Joe Burrow just 100% took advantage of what was a really good San Fran defense. And if we're going to throw credit to Joe Burrow for how well he played, we've got to throw the same credit to Zach Taylor. He called pretty much an impeccable game on the offensive side of the ball. I've had my qualms with Zach. It's usually early on in the season when I, love to overreact, and I think a lot of other people do the same. But yeah, Zach definitely opened up his entire playbook. It also made me start to realize, it looks like they handled the calf injury for Burrow in the best way possible because, the only things I heard about this injury, when listening to these other media outlets was saying this injury is going to linger on the entire season. And maybe that's what happens if Joe tries to play how he normally plays while, nursing that calf injury. But Joe Burrow limited himself so much during those first 5 or 6 weeks that maybe the calf has completely healed. It looks like Joe's definitely back to his old self. I loved that he looked like an absolute psycho after ripping off a couple of like 10 to 15 yard runs, and he's just banging the hell out of his helmet. That was awesome. The offense looked great. It was a great
we got to
performance.
we got to talk about too the play, and you know what I'm talking about.
Oh
The one
yeah,
where I think
Vincent.
everyone knows he gets away from. And again, this is not him getting away from bad defensive ends that can't tackle. I mean, that's Nick Bosa and Armstead, who are, I mean, that's as good of a duo as you're going to find in the NFL. And they only got better too with Chase Young. Thank goodness thank goodness we got rid of them, played them when we did. But that play for Joe Burrow, that was kind of the one that when I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, he's back. He's good.
So,
He's 100% unbelievable play.
so I don't want to take any credit away from that play or from the way the offensive line played in general against the Bengals, but we all know Joe Burrow and Nick Bosa are very, very good friends, stemming from their days in Ohio State. Do you think Nick Bosa kind of took the day off because
No,
he's
I
going
think
against Joe? Do you
no, I know, no shot. I think if anything, that takes your level up even more because I know that there was the line after the game that the NFL Films released where Nick Bosa told Joe Burrow after the game, pretty much, you made our bye week suck. Now, or so you ruined my bye week because now we've lost 3 straight games. And then he followed it up with saying, if anyone had to do it though, I'm glad that it was you.
Mm-hmm.
Another one of the good that we definitely have to mention was Joe Mixon.
Yeah.
He was great. 5.4 yards a carry. And I know we talked about this, I think it was 2 weeks ago with Tommy Lipscomb. And we talked about how Joe Mixon, it's wild that he doesn't have an average, like a play that is an average using his eyes, like average vision. He is either looking unbelievable with his vision or he's looking awful with his vision. And I thought his vision was as good as it was all season long. He was hitting holes. He was getting big runs. I mean, 5.4 yards a carry, sign me up. I mean, let's get that every game for the rest of the year.
Yeah, Joe Mixon was like running angry in this game. This guy was looking,
and it was a homecoming for him.
Yeah, it was a homecoming for him. The offense kind of changed their identity. Like I said before, they were running under center a lot more. I think that Joe Mixon was probably a lot more hyped for that because I think he does run the ball a lot more when the offense is under center, and I think they're opening up better holes for him. Yeah, he looked great in this game. T had a good bounce back game. We've talked about T's struggles the entire year, and although it wasn't like an elite game from T Higgins, he did make a few crucial catches down the stretch. Jamar does what Jamar does, always open. Yeah, there's really no bad I can think about on this offense other than one player.
You touched on the offensive line as well, and I think they deserve a lot of credit too against a good San Francisco pass rush that really, for the most part, they kept Joe Burrow up. Joe Burrow was not doing his quick outs all the time. He was holding the ball longer. He looked really good. Switching sides to the other side of the ball, talking about the good. A couple of players that really stood out to me defensively. I think the defensive player of the game might be Mike Hilton. I thought he was all over the ball. And you heard Tony Romo was mentioning him left and right over the things that he was doing. He was really, really good.
Yeah, he was kind of shutting down that slot receiver position for most of the game. He did allow 2 catches for 46 yards, but, he looked really good. They sent him on a couple blitzes where he made a couple of crucial tackles for loss. Yeah, Mike had a great game, and then we can't go without mentioning the MVP of the defense so far, who again closed out the game. Trey Hendrickson, guy was absolutely all over the place on Sunday, and yeah, closed out the game. I loved that him and DJ had that roughing the passer call late in the game. That forced an interception at the time. Obviously, that got called back. And then he goes out and just does it again and forces a fumble on Brock Purdy. I mean, that was incredible. And also let's another, like, I guess good or great for the team is that they were almost the first team in NFL history to have a game with 0 penalties until that roughing the passer call late in the game, which we've talked about this before in the podcast. Roughing the passer is a very subjective call, and I don't know if I would have called it
we are
on that play
becoming
either.
too protective of quarterbacks.
Yeah, it didn't even look like they were going really low on him,
And
and they hit
especially,
him right at the waist.
I'm a firm believer too that some quarterbacks have earned that right to get more calls like that. Mahomes, he's earned that right. He's been a multi-time MVP, multiple Super Bowls, and so on. You get some of these veterans like Stafford and so on. Heck, even Burrow probably would be in that conversation of being deserving of that. Brock Purdy does not earn that. Like, come on, let's be real.
See, I don't like to play into that narrative, but I definitely get what you're saying, and I think that's a thing for sure.
Yes,
with NFL referees,
it's respect in a way, and I don't know that Brock Purdy has done enough to earn that respect in that realm. One of those defensive penalties that you mentioned was somebody that I specifically wanted to mention as a guy that continuously doesn't show up in the stat sheet as often, but continuously is a guy that I hope they can find some way to re-sign, and that's DJ Reader. I mean, the dude is incredible.
Yeah, the guy has been the anchor of the defense for the past 3 years. He's been an elite run stuffer. His pass rush, I think, is significantly improved. You got 2 really good to elite pass rushers on your D line. I mean, that's a good spot to be in. And then another name I wanted to mention, Logan Wilson had a really good game. He had the interception that, it initially kind of looked like it was the easiest interception Logan Wilson's ever had to do. But, Romo kind of pointed it out is that, he was kind of moving one way to make Brock Purdy, think he was going that way. And he kind of just faked him out and got the interception. Tackling looks pretty good from Logan Wilson as well in the game. And then, like you said, Mike Hilton also had a great game. And the defense, I don't know. I know they forced some crucial turnovers and only gave up 17 points, but there are some things that probably need to be talked about that might be a little concerning.
So do you want to move on to the bad?
Let's go ahead and move on to that because.
So this is the bad, right? Not the ugly. Is that what you're saying, or are you throwing this in the ugly? So do we need to go? Because I have some of the bad. So we like to separate this, if you've never joined us, into the good, the bad, and the ugly, and pretty much separating it from being the great things, the meh things, and the things that make us worry with it. So are you putting this into the meh category, the bad, or the ugly? Because I have something to throw into the bad.
Let's go with your thing to throw into the bad, and I'll see if this
is not going to be a popular one, and my guess is you are going to be upset or disagree. I'm going to put Irv Smith in the bad and not the ugly.
Actually, and kind of agree with that.
And here's why. Yes, the fumble was awful. 100%. Yeah. But here's my philosophy is if he wouldn't have had that fumble, I could argue could have made that. I'd have thrown him in the good. Because I think he made some. I mean, it was the first game all season that you went away having an opinion on Irv Smith, and you could have had a positive opinion on Irv Smith. Like, was he great? No. The fumble, was it an awful fumble? 100%. Was I cursing his name when it happened? Of course. It was terrible. But I don't know that one play is what should move you down to the ugly. And that's why I slot him into the bad. And really, for me, it was the only bad that I have taken away.
Yeah, no, I thought Irv made some decent plays. Like you said, the fumble is kind of unforgivable. And I don't mind throwing him into the bad category. He made a couple of crucial first down catches. He actually did something. Just the fact it was all wiped away by the fumble. And I can honestly take some partial responsibility for the fumble, considering I mentioned in last week's podcast that the Bengals had not fumbled and lost the football all season. Bengals, not Joe Burrow. have done that. No Bengal other than Joe Burrow has done that. So,
and they
I'll
almost
take
had
some
2
partial responsibility there because
Jamar had the one that was called back as well.
Yeah, I was that was very Ron Torbert like to overturn that call.
Okay. Do you want to shift into the ugly? So you're actually putting stuff into the ugly. Interesting. Okay,
Yes,
go on.
I do have the ugly, and it's all defensive backs not named Mike Hilton. Coverage was a problem in this game. Yes, they did force 2 interceptions, so I mean that's good and all, but they were kind of constantly getting gashed by 49er playmakers throughout the entire game. Ayuk, and Brandon Ayuk's good, by the way. Brandon Ayuk might be the second coming of Devontae Adams as far as I'm concerned. He freaking torched the defense the entire game. It seemed like every so often the guy was making just a 30-yard reception and entirely flipping the field position. So and then you got to talk about Kittle as well. Kittle also had a really good game. Now some of his catches came in garbage time, so I think that might have inflated the stat line a little bit. But yeah, I think the coverage has to improve. And the good news is with that though is that this is about as skilled of a group of playmakers as the Bengals are going to play against, and that's that's even without Deebo Samuel, which
and that's why I personally, I think you're being a little harsh throwing it in ugly. I probably would have put it in bad. And I'm fine with that. Just because Ayuk and Kittle do that to a lot of teams.
Yep.
I mean, Kittle is an argument could be made. He's the best tight end in football. Like, you can make that argument. Ayuk is the most underrated wide receiver in football. I think an argument could be made on that. Yes, they were without Deebo Samuel. And then you have Christian McCaffrey, who is the best running back in football. I'll say that. And I don't even know if you call him a running back. He's an athlete.
The best skill position offensive player in football.
Correct. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So you're looking at you have 3 elite players on the offense. So I don't know. And look, I'm not disagreeing with you. The fact that it was not great. I just don't know that I personally would have put it in ugly, but that's why we separate.
See, I think the wide receivers, and looking at the footage, they got so much separation in that game. And if it weren't for the pass rush, I feel like San Fran probably would have put on a lot more points than what they did. So maybe I think the pass rush kind of made up for how ugly they kind of played.
For me, the ugly, if we're being honest, you know who the ugly should be?
Kind of touched on everybody here. Let's see.
No, we've missed two. We've missed 2 very important uglies.
Are you talking about Shooter's miss?
No, not at all, because that was 50 yards and it was windy and everything. No, the 2 uglies are us, Mick, because we both predicted the 49ers to win the game. And we deserve to be thrown in the ugly category because we should have our tails between the legs because we were wrong. And on this podcast, we will gloat if we were right, but we should admit it if we are both wrong. And we were both wrong on Sunday, but we were both very happy to be wrong. So I'm throwing this in the ugly category.
I was ecstatic to be wrong. That was the best I felt in the game all year. And I don't think I would have gloated to be right in this situation. I never gloat to see the Bengals get, massacred or blown out during a game. Like
no. But yeah, no, I think it was an overall great performance. And I think it was one of those things that after they scored to go up 7-0, that was kind of the moment where I thought they're winning this game. Like, it was one of those that I didn't think they were going to win, but the minute that the game got rolling, I knew that the Bengals were going to win. I do agree with what Riley said. The true ugly is the Miss Burrow.
I am actually really surprised Zach didn't challenge that.
Well, it wouldn't have mattered because Ted Karras didn't. They didn't finish the play, so it wouldn't have mattered.
The first down at least. They didn't blow the whistle.
I think it would have been when the ball was picked up is where they would have blown the play dead, because they have no way of knowing that if they wouldn't have blown the whistle that Nick Bosa would have tackled Ted Karras. That's probably would have been the decision.
Nick Bosa wouldn't have tackled Ted Karras. Ted Karras was ready to take that thing to the house.
I would have loved it if Ted Karras scored himself a tutty. He was ready too. There's nothing I love more than the big man touchdown. linemen, I think, can advance except I think it's on 4th down and when there's less than 2 minutes left and a half.
Yep.
Are the only opportunities when a lineman can't advance the football. Is there anything else you wanted to jump in about the 49ers, or do we want to move into the Bills?
Yeah, no, I think I've said everything we need to say about the Niners game. Great win for the Bengals, and they're back, baby. They're back.
Will they stay back, though, on Sunday Night Football when they take on the Buffalo Bills at Paycor Stadium? It is this. Strike the jungle. Make sure if you're going to the game that you realize what section you're sitting in and whether you're supposed to wear black or orange. It'll be one of these things that if this is pulled off, and I have the faith in Bengals fans, that it's going to look really, really cool. Yeah, really cool. We're in the black section, so we're ready.
Yeah, I'm really hoping we do see some good coordination with this, like we did with the whiteout games against the Rams and the Dolphins last year. Here's my one potential worry about it. I feel like there isn't enough orange memorabilia, out there. I don't know. I don't really see much stuff made in orange, if you get what I'm saying there. It's usually,
do you have an orange Bengals shirt? I do.
I have an orange Bengals t-shirt.
I have an orange Bengals pullover that I would have worn.
But I would say the majority of the stuff is black. Got 2 pieces of white clothing, but I've only got 1 orange. So I'm kind of worried, is there going to be enough orange? I don't think we're going to have any issue with the black sections that have that they have to wear black. But
I'll be interested too. Is that last game the Bills traveled very well here, so I'll be interested to see how much blue or red will be sprinkled through as well. But I still think, obviously it'll be a pro Bengals crowd. I think it's going to look good, and I think it'll be one of those things that next year it'll look great.
Yeah,
if you get what I'm saying, that it'll take us a year to get rolling on this. And I hope they do something too where they give away, they gave away the white rally towels for the I got it right here. The white rally towels for the Rams game.
So do you think they'll be black ones and then black
and then orange in the other categories?
I think that might be the best way to do it for sure. That's
or even pom-poms or something like that. I hope that they can do something there. That's what they love.
They love doing the pom-poms, man. That's I'm glad I still have my towel this week or this year. Though.
I am too, but I still have the one pom-pom game I've been to was the playoff game against the Raiders, and I still have it. Never will get rid of that. That's my one memento since we don't get ticket stubs anymore.
We got pom-poms at the Steelers playoff game that we don't like to talk about.
No, they gave away it was
Didn't they give us pom-poms?
No, it was Gators. It was Bengals Gators a face mask.
I don't remember that. I thought
yes, in fact, if I know exactly where mine is because it was hilarious because during COVID I was looking for it and could not find it. I didn't know where I put it because I was wanting to use it because obviously we were supposed to be wearing that. We're not talking about masks. I don't care about your opinion if you're going to comment.
Oh, I know. Okay, I know what Gators are. Okay.
Yeah, it's the thing that you pull up over your and I was looking for it and I don't know, could not find it. And probably about a year ago, I was looking through an old box and found it. And I was like, of course, now I find it when it's not something that people wear that much anymore. But no, that was one of those things. Riley, you're not wrong that they gave depression and disappointment at the Steelers.
Our therapy session for the 2015 playoff game will come in the offseason when we have very little to talk about.
Only when the Bengals win the Super Bowl am I willing to take a therapy session on that moment. Until then, it's still too fresh. It's still too fresh. I don't know that I'm quite ready to talk about it. But if the Bengals win the Super Bowl this year, absolutely, we can relive the depression of that moment. The rulers of the jungle, on Sunday will be Clark Harris and Kevin Huber. I love it.
I was pleasantly surprised by the news. Both were with the team for a very long time. They were probably the most probably the most tenured people on the team or players on the team in 2022 and 2021. Clark didn't really play last year after when he tore his bicep or whatever, and he was out for the whole season.
Yes, I think it was Peck, maybe, or something. It was, it's something in that
something that
upper
kept
body.
him from doing his job.
Yes, and the Bengals lost the game against the Steelers because of that. Yeah, that week one, and you never know what.
Don't want to get too off topic here. I'm just surprised they never, like, after the first failed attempt, I would have been like, screw it, we're just going for two. We'd been, and it's
like, I've always wondered, and again, I fully admit that I am not an expert on long snapping, but like, could Ted Karras not like get one back? I know it's different, but like the Mitchell Wilcox snap was not good. And it's one of those that I wish I could talk to Darren Simmons, like a guy who has forgotten more about special teams than any one of us watching or listening will ever know. But I don't know. And again, we're getting off topic. Back to the game here today or on Sunday. It'll be Sunday Night Football on NBC. Mike Tirico and Chris Collinsworth. And again, we had this conversation last week, Mick, that I think the Chris Collinsworth hate is stupid. And I think he's actually good at his job.
I'm waiting for Riley's comment to come through.
Yes,
here
he probably doesn't
not like Chris Collinsworth. Like,
well, then buy a ticket and come to the game, Riley, so you don't have to listen
I've been trying to convince him to for a while. He said he might be in the market for season tickets next year. So,
oh, there you go. Here's a stat for you, though, Mick. The Bengals have lost 10 straight regular season Sunday night football games. The last time the Cincinnati Bengals won a regular season Sunday night football game, week 2, 2004.
Oh,
they have never won a Sunday night football game on NBC.
What about 2012 against the Steelers? Was that not Sunday night?
It must have been Monday night football.
Been a Monday night game, I guess. I totally was going to say 2012 against the Steelers.
The Bengals have never won.
That was also in week 2, I think.
They have never won a regular season Sunday night football game on NBC. Now, you can mention that the previous two, the Ravens game was on NBC last year in the playoffs, and technically that wasn't a Sunday night football. And then the Raiders game, whereas that was a Saturday night, was on NBC as well. There was also another playoff game in between that we're not going to talk about that was on NBC in that realm as well.
Which one was this? The Jets Bengals
Super Bowl. Super Bowl.
Oh, yep. Oof.
Super Bowl. Yeah.
Yep. That's true.
Does that mean anything? I don't know. But it is interesting because, this will only be Joe Burrow's second Sunday night football game ever, which is wild that when you think about that as well, as the last one was last year against the Ravens. The official on Sunday will be Alex Kemp. You ready for your Alex Kemp stats, Mick?
Yeah.
Bengals are 4-1 in games that one Alex Kemp has reffed. That was the Bucs and Raiders games in 2018, the Patriots in 2019, which was the loss. So I don't really know how much of a loss we actually count that was. That was the game.
Well,
yes,
you were
I was
at the game too.
Not the only reason. The only reason the Bengals lost that game is because the Patriots were cheating by filming their sideline. That's the only reason they lost that game.
And Andy Dalton may or may not have thrown 4 interceptions.
No, it's because they were filming the sideline. That's why because they cheated. The Jaguars in 2020, and then last season's game against the Panthers. So the Bengals are 4-1 with Alex Kemp being the official. Does that mean anything either? I don't know. So you add your negative stats going into Sunday's game without even mentioning the opponent, and you add your positive stats. So how about we talk about the actual opponent now? And I think the best way to do that is to start with the injury reports for the Bengals. Tyson Anderson did not practice today with a knee injury. Trey Hendrickson did not practice with a foot injury. Josh Tupou didn't practice with a shoulder injury. Orlando Brown Jr., ADG, and Mixon were all limited. Devin Harper was full. Do any of those worry you, Mick? I think the only one that probably would be Trey Hendrickson.
Yeah, and I don't even know if it would worry me that much. He sustained that injury during the Niners game. Now, argument can be made that, well, a lot of adrenaline was going on, during that game, and Trey was just probably able to come back, and play full game and make an impact. But, the thing was probably very, very well probably was sore on Monday and Tuesday and didn't participate on Wednesday. So I'm not too worried about the injury report. Mixon chest. Limited participant.
Limited with a chest. Correct. Yeah, that's probably. He's a veteran. It's Wednesday. It's a lighter practice anyways. He probably said, Zach, I'm a little sore. And Zach Taylor is, you can say what you want about him, but he is always on the player's side, especially when it comes to injuries. He's always going to, it's not worth pushing it. And that could be the same thing with Trey Hendrickson. And I feel like Trey Hendrickson is one of those guys, too, that unless that foot is cut off, and even then, I feel like he would play on one leg.
This is the same man that broke his wrist last year and missed like one game. Dude was just clobbering people with a cast last year.
He's insane, and I love it.
He is. He's a crazy man. I'm scared of that guy.
Yes, I did love that the Bengals yesterday for Halloween posted, "Here's your scary costume" or something like that, and it was just a picture of Trey Hendrickson. Something that quarterbacks are completely scared of. For the Bills, did not practice. Josh Allen with a shoulder. Let's come back to that in a moment. Rasul Douglas, and I love that the injury designation for him was just got here because they traded for him yesterday. Kyer Elam with an ankle. Balin Spector with a hamstring. And Damar Hamlin with an illness. And Quentin Morris was limited with an ankle injury. Let's first start with, because really, the main topic that we have is Josh Allen on there with the shoulder injury. I was watching their, I guess it was Thursday night. Gosh, that's already been a week ago, wasn't it? Thursday night that they played. Gosh, I couldn't even tell you who they played. Who did they play in that game? Thank you. And I was watching when he went down with the injury. And you saw him immediately grimace. But I feel like he's like Roethlisberger in the realm of he is just going to have 75 injuries a season, but yet is still, since he's just such a big human being, is still going to be fine and he's still going to play. I'm not even a little bit concerned in the fact that he might not play on Sunday.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like similar to the Trey situation where, shoulder's probably sore after the Thursday night game. And he ended up finishing that game anyways because, like I said, all the adrenaline's running during the game. I am kind of surprised to see that he didn't participate just because the Thursday night game is already he's already going to be a week removed from that tomorrow. So that's kind of surprising.
Friday's practice is going to tell me whether I'm starting to go, ooh, maybe he won't play. If he doesn't play, do you know who the Bills' backup quarterback is, Mick? I'm putting you on the spot. I know who it is, so you don't need to Google it.
Kyle Allen. It's Kyle
Allen. You are correct. Kyle Allen would start at on Sunday Night Football against the Bengals. Good day, John. Appreciate you taking the time to join us on this. Riley says that Josh Allen is listed as questionable on Sleeper, which, that's just because he did not practice. I'm not worried about that at all. The one that I'm intrigued by is Rasul Douglas. Does he play? What do you think?
I think he plays, but he's going to play on limited snaps. Lou said this at some point last year because, Bengals fans were all pissed at Eli Apple. They wanted us to bench Eli Apple, which they ended up doing until Cheeto got hurt. But, your defensive backfield is kind of equivalent to your offensive line, is that you don't really want to sub your defensive backfield out too much. During the game, there's a lot of cohesion, a lot of coordination that goes on the back end there. So I have a hard time seeing Rasul Douglas integrate himself too much into this game, but also you want him to get reps into a different defensive system. Now, Kyer Elam being out may force him into action a little more, though.
See, Kyer Elam was one of those guys that when he came out, gosh, what about 4 years ago, or has it not been that long?
No, he was drafted in 2022.
Okay, I guess he was more recent than that.
Actually, maybe 2020. No, 2022.
No, he's been at least in the league for a year or two. He was one of those guys that I kind of marked as like, ooh, I would like him. on the Bengals. I liked him at Florida. So he's somebody that I at least kind of raise my eyebrows, because especially when we move into here, diving into the specifics of this game and starting with the Bengals offense against the Bills defense. Bills defense is beat up. No Tre'Davious White, one of their best corners. But to me, the big X factor on their defense is no Matt Milano, as he's still on IR right now. That's huge for this Bills team, because I feel like he's kind of the straw that stirs the drink on that defense.
Yeah, he's definitely the captain of the defense, and I think that they're definitely missing his leadership and his coordination and in what he does there. Now they do have a decent linebacker in Tyrell Dodson, very good against the run. Coverage game is okay. Terrell Bernard hasn't graded that well at all this season. This isn't a defense that really scares me.
No. Von Miller, is there, but Von Miller is 75 years old.
Also coming off a torn ACL.
And he has played a couple of games this year, and you don't want to know what his stats are, Mick? 1 assisted tackle. That's it.
Yeah. We saw this back 10 years ago when Geno came back in 2014 after his torn ACL. It takes a while for I feel like people on the line in particular to recover from injuries like this. And I think you're seeing that in Von Miller. And let's not also mention the fact that he is on the older end of the spectrum when it comes to players that are playing in the NFL. I'm not really too concerned about him. I think their best player on defense is probably safety Jordan Poyer. And actually their safety duo in general with Micah Hyde on the other side. That's definitely their strongest positional unit, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree. But this is not a defense, especially compared to last week, and even 2 weeks prior against the Seahawks, that scares me. I think it is in the realm of the defenses that they've played. It is, because Bengals played some good defenses this year. I would call it, the mid to bottom tier as far as defenses that the Bengals have played this year. Now, that's also talking about that the Bengals have played some pretty darn good defenses.
The Ravens really defense, good defenses.
The Browns defense, the 49ers defense, the Rams defense is not completely awful at times. At times, Titans defense is solid. So, I think an argument can be made that the Bengals have played a bad defense all year. I guess Cardinals defense is not great, but
it's not very good. No.
But other than that, they have not played really many bad defenses. And I think the Bills are closer to the Cardinals than they are the Browns. I guess the Browns, I would still say, is the best defense the Bengals have played this year, even though the Ravens are ranked towards the top in pretty much every category. I'd still take the Browns defense. What we saw week 1, I'm sure Joe Burrow is still having nightmares over that.
Yeah.
Bengals defense against the Bills offense. Obviously, we just talked a few minutes ago about will Josh Allen play? If he doesn't play, I think that your confidence in this game goes up drastically. Because
I'd say so.
When you have a backup quarterback, you want to rely on the run game. Mm-hmm. And the Bills' run game is, James Cook,
he's okay.
He's fine. They just signed Leonard Fournette to their practice squad yesterday.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how much work he's going to get.
Will we elevate him? We obviously have no way of knowing that. It's just that rushing attack doesn't worry me at all. And one of the biggest weaknesses of this Bengals defense has been against the run. And luckily, you're going up against a team that is not this is not, Nick Chubb running at you. This is not even the Ravens. This is a very much, Josh Allen is probably their best runner.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because if there's only one rusher I'd be worried about in the least bit, that'd be Josh Allen doing what Josh Allen does, which the Bengals did prove to kind of struggle against Brock Purdy last week in his escapability and his legs. And then also, the game against Lamar, but in week 2, Bengals prior to that in 2021 and 2022 proved that they could contain Lamar and his rushing ability. But yeah, the fact that you face two somewhat mobile, you face one really mobile quarterback and one somewhat mobile quarterback, and you kind of got ripped off for some, pretty big yardage from those two guys is a little worrisome. But yeah, the running backfield with James Cook, Latavius Murray, Leonard Fournette, whoever, doesn't really concern me that much.
Now, they do have good wide receiver. I mean, Stephon Diggs, and then Gabe Davis is really good on the other side as well. Gabe Davis is kind of, I'm not calling him Brandon Ayuk, but I feel like he's in the Brandon Ayuk realm as far as he never gets talked about as being a really solid wide receiver. Now, I take Brandon Ayuk over Gabe Davis every single day of the week that ends in Y, but I feel like Gabe Davis doesn't get the respect that he deserves.
See, here's my thing with Gabe Davis. I think he's very inconsistent. Like he's either he's going off. He's either really going off against the team because they're probably doubling or tripling Stephon Diggs, and he's got that one-on-one coverage, or he's just laying an absolute goose egg. Honestly, I'm more bullish about Khalil Shakir than I am about Gabe Davis. Believe it or not, Shakir's actually had borderline the best stretch out of all their receivers the past few weeks. They do have a very good wide receiver trio though, and that's not even to mention the
Dalton Kincaid.
the uprising of Dalton Kincaid, which the secondary, the linebackers did prove they have a lot of problems with George Kittle. I'm not saying Dalton Kincaid is in that stratosphere yet, although he kind of looks like he might be on his way there now. I bet he's tired of all the Sam Laporta talk.
That to me, when I look at this offense, and you're asking me, I guess the Bengals lose this game because Dalton Kincaid might be one of the guys that you can throw into that realm because the Bengals have always had trouble stopping tight ends. Really, I mean, other than with Trey Flowers. Surprisingly did a pretty decent job always against tight ends.
He was a great tight end specialist.
He's a free agent, I believe. I don't think he made the Falcons. I think that's where he went.
Is he really a free agent? Why don't we
or maybe he's on somebody's practice squad or something, but I don't think he's on anybody's active roster because I think he went to the Falcons in the off season and I think moved on to go. Are you looking it up right now?
I am looking it up right now. Now I am looking it up on Wikipedia, by the way. So,
great job. That's a great resource. Only the best for the listeners of Jungle Juice.
Hey man, I've got a college degree. Like, give the man a little credit here. It looks like he is on the active roster.
Is he for the Falcons?
Yep.
Okay. Well, facts are optional on this show too. Okay. Any other things you really want to discuss when we're talking about the this game on Sunday?
Yeah,
you want to jump into your keys?
No, let's go to the keys of victory. That'll probably be
I do kind of agree with what Riley says here, though. Jordan Battle has the size and speed to be a pretty good tight end specialist.
And he has the intangibles to do it too.
Yes, I think he could be an X factor on that. A matchup that you could see for years to come with Kincaid against Battle. Okay, Mick, keys to the game and keys to a Bengals victory on Sunday Night Football to snap that losing streak.
Yeah, so the Bengals on offense actually have a lot of things going for them against this Bills defense. You pretty much mentioned this is probably on the lower end of defenses that the Bengals have faced this season, which is just kind of crazy to say because Sean McDermott coached defenses are usually in that elite to really good tier. So we haven't necessarily seen that. I think another key, a big key to victory again is Joe doing what Joe does and taking advantage of mismatch nightmares that this secondary could potentially have. I'm not too big of a fan of the rushing offense against the Bills. They are fairly stout against the run, so I don't know if I'm expecting to see a huge game out of Joe Mixon, but I'm also not expecting him to lay an absolute egg like he did against Seattle. But yeah, we'll go with the biggest keys to the defense is probably the Bengals pass catchers versus the Bills secondary.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with that. I think, especially with their secondary having the injuries back there, if guys like Kaiir Elam and Douglas don't play, the Bengals, they got to take advantage of that, because I mean, this could be a game where you'll know what I mean by this, Mick, is you just have to outscore them. And what I mean by that is, more of your higher scoring games. It could be, I don't think it will be, but it could be. And when you have that, you're going to need your receivers to make plays. And I think when you have that, advantage goes to the orange and black of the Bengals on Sunday night.
Yeah, for sure. Now on defense, keys to victory on defense. I'm going to sound like a broken record.
Let me guess. Pass rush.
Pass rush, baby. Pass rush is another is going to be a big deal. Now the Bills have it's probably the best starting tackle duo that the pass rush will play against, with Deion Dawkins and then Spencer Brown, who's having a career year on the right tackle side as well. But if we're looking at any unit on the defense to really come through against this Bills offense, which can be extremely potent at times, it's got to be the pass rush and finding a way to contain Josh Allen and his rushing ability as well. I'm not too big on this coverage unit for the Bengals against these Bills receivers. So that I think the pass rush is going to have to try to bail them out again this week.
The Cincinnati Bengals on Sunday night on NBC. So you have Mike Tirico and Chris Collinsworth, and Melanie Collins, I think, is the sideline reporter. I think that's her name.
Sure.
Yeah,
I have no idea. I thought it was what happened to Michelle Tafoya?
Wasn't she got on? You're going to make this discussion. She's no longer employed by NBC. We'll put it that way. And no, I don't care in the comments about what your opinion is on Michelle Tafoya. So if that tells you anything that you need to know, Mick, then we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it after this year. I don't.
Yeah, that's cool. Not keeping my hands clean of any potential discussion there.
Bengals have lost 10 straight regular season Sunday night football games on NBC. It's going to be striping out the jungle. Make sure that if you're coming to the game, that you do that. I was trying to pull it up, instead clicked a different button. Bang, there you go. Do it. Great. You can find that map if you need it. Mick, Bengals Bills, number 3, 2.5, 2.
What are we looking at? What are you at?
Bengals version 2, 3, 2.5.
If we're doing this mathematically, it's like 2.2,
2.5,
2.2. Bengals
2.2. Bengals Bills 2.2. I guess that's a good way to put it.
It sounds like an iOS model here. I'm gonna go Bengals. Okay. I think a lot of points are going to be scored in this game. I think you're going to see a lot of offensive fireworks. I think it's going to be a really good game. I'm going to go Bengals 27, Bills 24.
That's what I was considering. I really was. I'm going to go very similar. Bengals 27, Bills 20 is going to be my pick. So I think 27 seems like it's a good number. Riley's picking Bengals 34-20. I'd be very
after
pleased
the
with
San Fran game last week, wouldn't be surprised at all.
No, not at all. I was even thinking 31-20. I'm just picking 27-20, and I think you're going to see Bills have it. Chance to drive down the field. Josh Allen throws an interception to Cam Taylor-Britt. Little deja vu to last year to clinch the victory for the Bengals, and Joe Burrow throws down a couple of knees. And we're going to see Jamar Chase in the victory formation doing a backflip like he did in the
that was
celebration.
Perfect. And also the still shot, whoever got of him being...
Yeah, there were a couple really good still shots. I was very impressed.
I saw that initially, and I was like, what in the hell did I just see here? Like, I was so confused. It's like, why is Jamar Chase upside down in the middle of the air? And then backflip. Perfect backflip. Did you know he used to do gymnastics?
I did. I saw that he used to, that he said that, but he didn't. Apparently it was not planned. It was just one of those things that happened, and he was all for it. I'm just glad that he landed it.
See, I was like asking Sam because after I saw the touchdown happen, I just went crazy and screamed and ran throughout my house and didn't see the celebration. I was like, Sam,
Your wife
gritty?
too.
Did he have the grit? Yeah, my wife Sam, not my
sister or me,
co-host or best friend. Well,
or sister.
Or sister. I was asking Sam, I was like, did Jamar do the gritty? She was like, I didn't see him do a gritty. And then got the picture of him just floating upside down in the middle of the air. And she's like, yeah, oh yeah, he did a backflip. And it was really good. I think we need to have him. He's got to be the backflip guy. Do you want to risk him being the backflip guy?
No, that's really I don't want it. Like Trent Taylor.
Trent Taylor, yeah, that's who
he was good, because if Trent Taylor failed, nobody really cared. He was, but still, should Jamar Chase be the backflip guy? We'll start that conversation up.
We need to put that we'll put up a poll on the page and be like, does he need to be, should we put him as a backflip guy?
Speaking of the page, remember to follow us there on our Facebook page, Jungle Juice Facebook. I think we've been having issues there streaming. We'll have to figure that out before next week's show. Remember to follow our good buddy Josh Isles over at WDN Today on Facebook. You can follow it there. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow along that way. We also have a great way for you to listen back via your favorite podcast platform. Make our country of the week that we were tuned in, Poland. So we say shout out to our friends in Poland from Warsaw. If you were listening, thank you for joining us for the episode of Jungle Juice. That was who tuned into last week's episode. Make sure you follow us along there.
Which European country are we going to bet on now? Which one do you think is going to come
Germany.
out? I'm going to go Denmark. I love Denmark. I've never been, but I really want to go. It looks awesome.
Okay, there you go. If one of us is correct, we owe the other one a Coke. Deal?
I'll give you a Dr. Pepper. You like Dr.
There you go. And I'll buy you a Vault water. Isn't that what you drink?
Life water. I get giant life water. 2 giant life waters at the games after a tailgate.
You do.
What may or may not
being a degenerate. Degenericity is that a word? Degenericity? If not, we just made it up.
Degeneracy.
That's probably
that's what it is.
Sounds a little bit more intelligent, but that'll wrap us up here for this week. Mick, any parting thoughts?
No. For those of you showing up to the game, please show out in full force. Try your best to coordinate with the Stripe the Jungle sections that Stam highlighted earlier a few times, or as he's doing right now. Try to coordinate your best and just provide an electric atmosphere. I can't wait. It seems like the stadium really just comes alive during prime time. And also, apparently, the Bengals crowd wasn't as great at the Seahawks game. I take partial responsibility. I wasn't there.
You take full responsibility. It is all your fault. It was 100%.
What before we part, what were your thoughts on that? Because Schubert obviously had his opinion on it and posted about it. What did you notice anything?
Alex Schubert had an opinion about something? Are we sure that we're talking about the same person?
Yeah.
No, yes. It was not. See, and it's so hard to talk about crowds because the last game that we were at was the Rams game, and it was a primetime game, and the game before that was the Ravens. Because when you're talking about opponent-wise, Seahawks doesn't bring out the same level of. It's going to be a similar crowd to what next week will be against the Texans.
So like a Panthers-Falcons game last year, around that round.
It's just
Browns game was kind of dead. I'm not going to lie.
It was loud when it needed to be, but it wasn't loud the entire game like it's going to be on Sunday if it's a great game.
Mm-hmm.
I sat down more on Sunday than I typically do, that game against the Seahawks. But that also just was based on I was stressed at times, maybe, and because the defense was giving me heart attacks, and so was the offense. And I just hope, there haven't been many games over the past couple of years in Paycor Stadium where I've been able to come away being like, my heart rate didn't raise at all. We've had probably too many. You had Panthers, Falcons last year that were in that realm.
I'm going to say the
Browns. Yeah, but other than that, all of the other games were not safe. I guess Ravens won, the one in the regular season.
I think
never really in doubt.
Yeah. Well, and also you got to think a lot of those fans were coming off probably the
emotional,
most traumatic
correct.
experience they probably have ever seen in a sporting event. And also, just to throw back to that, shout out to our season ticket guys next to us, Sanjay and Moody, I believe it's his name. Moody brought his son to the Bills game last year. It was his first NFL game, and obviously what happened. I think Moody's bringing his son again to this Bills
Oh,
game. I think
interesting.
so. I think I remember him saying that. So,
Well, I didn't know that, so I'm very excited to get to see them. And shout out to everyone that sits around the season tickets. And also, we'll give a good shout out to our good friend, One
oh,
Bengal Jim.
love that guy. Can't wait.
If you, yep, we'll be down there. If you see us, say hi. Tell us how we're right. Tell us how we're wrong. As long as you follow us on our social media channels, you can do whatever you want to us within reason.
Yes, you can throw reason out the window with me. It's totally cool.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it, Mick. We'll see you back here next Wednesday. Hopefully, recapping a big Bengals win on Sunday Night Football every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. So until then, for another episode of Jungle Juice, Mick, it's been fun.
Yeah, it's been fun. Can't wait to watch the game, and we'll see you guys next week.
Hoo day.
Hoo day.